Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys from down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, we love you good old boys from Canada. And Big C, there's no one I love more than all you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all of you good old boys?
Charles, we got everybody recovering from this solar eclipse. And I don't understand what the big spectacle was. You know?
Yeah.
Everybody was traveling all over the country, going out and buying these little crazy 3D glasses and all that.
Yeah.
All they had to do was ask the guy who sits behind me at every baseball game.
That's funny, Big C. I tell you, that's what happens when you lift all those weights, Big C. You tend to get a lot of muscles in the dexterity of Big C. But I also want to say today is a beautiful day. It is actually August the 21st, 2017, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, I heard that the eclipse hadn't happened for 99 years, and I think the next one's scheduled to come out in 2024. But obviously, a lot of people were excited about it because who was around 99 years ago? Not too many people on the planet can say they were around 99 years ago. But one of the things that I really realized is that, you know, not only are we the number one sports show in the universe, even the moon wanted to get closer to follow the Big C Sports Show. Big C, you know?
People who were around 99 years ago did not realize what a solar eclipse was. They just knew there was something evil going on.
Yeah.
You know, well, we do got something evil still going on in the White House.
Yeah.
You know, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a fantastic day for America, you know, starting out there on the West Coast in Oregon, ending up in South Carolina, Charleston. That so many people were able to be captivated by this, you know, mysterious event, Charlton, that happened so few times in our lifetime. The next full solar eclipse is going to be 48 years from now, Charlton.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm still around at that time, you know, with a moonshine in my hand.
We'll be around, Big C. It's all a matter of how you're drinking, what you're taking your system. But I do want to say that what I loved about, if you look at basically the last month in the United States and then all over the world, I just realized something that I've always thought in my heart was true. When you have something that can unite people, it really shows how in common everybody is on this planet. But also, I just want to say also how small we are compared to the universe. And speaking of the universe, I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So Big C, of course, seeing everything that happened with the eclipse, very, very nice. You know, obviously, that you got to have the right type of glasses to look at it. I realized why my eyesight is not that good. When I was a little boy, I used to win every sun staring contest, but now that's why I need contacts and glasses at the same time. Now I finally found out. But before we even get on that, Big C, I want to just touch on a little bit of sad news that happened just the last couple of days. You know, actor comedian Dick Gregory, one of the more intelligent men that I have ever run across, and a socially conscious man. Back in the days of Jim Crow, made a big living actually doing comedy shop in front of a lot of white audiences, where a lot of mainstream would not even accept people of color. You know, we talk about the social consciousness today. Dick Gregory, he was one of the forerunners in dealing with social issues. Big C, your thoughts on the late great Dick Gregory, Big C?
Well, Charlton, ironically, we lost two great comedians and activists over the weekend. We lost Jerry Lewis, who was the last member of the Rat Pack.
Well, I didn't know that.
You know, want to touch on that also. He was 94 years old. And, you know, Jerry Lewis's contributions to America with the muscular dystrophy telethon that he would hold every year, he raised over $2 billion for that disease, Charlton, to help afflicted people.
Wow.
You know, which is something that can't go unnoticed, you know, in society. But when you compare he and Dick Gregory, who was 84 years old, Charlton, both of these gentlemen, as you stated, started out their careers as comedians.
Yeah.
But they turned into social activists, Charlton. When you think about the muscular dystrophy telethon that Jerry Lewis took on for those children and afflicted people of that horrific disease, Charlton, and Dick Gregory, you know, turning his spotlights on social activism for, you know, minorities in America, Charlton.
Yeah.
Putting his voice forward, you know, understanding the plight. And, you know, I spent a a lot of time with Dick over the past several years. Met him on several different events in Charleston, and able to sit down and talk with him. Very enlightening man when you sit down and talk to him and understand what he knew. That's the thing that society doesn't get anymore. When we think about young kids today, and Dick Gregory was like sitting down with your grandparents.
Yeah.
All they had was a wealth of knowledge for you.
Yeah.
And what he told you was life experience, what he had lived through. He could see and actually he forecasted things that are going on now in America and having these conversations with him, Charlton.
Yeah.
And I'm greatly and forever thankful for having that opportunity to get that from him, Charlton. But, we lost a great civil rights, involvement person in Dick Gregory. He was involved in that strife for equality for Americans, not just African Americans, Americans, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he also understood the African Americans' plight, and he was a tireless worker in that behalf. Up until his death, Charlton, he worked tirelessly to try to improve the way of life for African Americans in America, Charlton. And one of those people who was a torchbearer for what Dick Gregory was doing is Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, and Big C, I tell you, that is so powerful. When I look at how Colin Kaepernick is more vindicated now as people become more enlightened, it's always the knee-jerk reaction that gets people to be offended and upset, and obviously part of that is intentional because there are forces in our society that don't want people to get along, and we know that. The more you read, the more you realize that. The less you read, the less you know about that. But everybody understands, again, the Kerner Commission talked about that. But what I love also about Dick Gregory is we talk so much about Muhammad Ali and what Muhammad Ali meant to the world, Big C. And you're very erudite, you read a lot, you know a lot, but it's not just because you want to, because you have a desire for it. When I hear Dick Gregory, when I hear him speak the truth, and a lot of athletes or even people in entertainment industry, they will say, well, we don't want to rub people the wrong way. You don't grow until you rub people the wrong way, and you don't grow until you become uncomfortable. Now, he didn't rub people the wrong way by doing what was right, Big C. In fact, it made him more loved all over the world. Isn't that something that athletes can look upon when they look at their own plight today, Big C? Tell the truth, and more people will accept you because they love intelligent people. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when we look at the athletic movement now in America, and everybody is pointing things out that the African American athletes are doing.
Yeah.
But the white athletes don't have to worry about that, Charlton, because their community is never going to be afflicted the way an African American community is afflicted.
Yeah.
When we look at the stance that is being held by these African American athletes, and you have a few Caucasian teammates, speaking out, but these Caucasian teammates, Charlton, are not doing the same stance that the African American teammates have, Charlton. You can see that you listen to your teammate, but you don't understand your teammate, Charlton, because you're never going to be put in that same plight that he is, driving while black, trying to get home from practice or even get to practice, Charlton, where your life can be in peril.
Yeah.
We've seen that too often in America, Charlton. We've seen athletes lose their lives, because of this rage that we have in America.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Charlottesville, when we look at the plight that occurred there, last week.
Yeah.
And everybody talked about the unrest that was going on. Let's go back a few years ago to Ferguson, Missouri, Charlton.
Yeah.
We had the unrest go on in Ferguson, Missouri. Let's go back to Los Angeles when we had the riots in Los Angeles, Charlton, and the unrest.
Yeah.
Let's even go back to Detroit. There's a movie out right now that was released recently about Detroit and the Democratic convention that went on there during that time.
Yeah.
The one non-common denominator that all those things have in common?
What's that?
Is that they called in the National Guard when blacks were at unrest.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
When blacks were doing the same thing that whites were doing in Charlotte last week, they call in the National Guard. And it's been more than just those occasions that they've called in the National Guard to fire upon black American citizens, Charlton. They knew in advance what was going to occur in Charlotte, but they didn't bring in the National Guard.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to put in people that looked like them in harm's way of bullets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a government decision not to bring in the National Guard to stop this upheaval that they knew in advance was going to occur. Now, these other incidents, there was no ready advancement knowing that they were occurring. But, you protected the lives of Nazi people in America. Okay, Charlton?
Yeah.
That's what the government did. The government protected the lives of Nazis, the same people who killed thousands of Americans during World War II, who wanted to eradicate the Jews, and they were even even talking about that last week.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted to eradicate the Jews in America. And yet America did nothing. The government did nothing. They stood behind these Nazis and let them go out there and be rebellious against America once again.
Well, you know, what's ironic when you bring that up, there's a concert tonight, and it, you know, not that far from the brand new Golden One Center, home of the Sacramento Kings. It's right by the state capitol. Common, who's a rapper and I guess you could say somewhat of an activist, is in town. 25,000 people expected to attend the concert, but it's not about listen to my new song. It's not about, hey, who can we get to dance and shake the groove thing. It's about criminal justice reform. I met a young Caucasian woman, blonde hair, blue-eyed, never had any problems with police in her life. Grew up in a small town. We were just talking about it. And she says her family works primarily in the criminal justice system. And she said, ironically, that she brought up what we talked about before with the privatization of prisons. Well, she said there are more and more private prisons popping up all over the country. You know, privatized where they're not really well known because they're not federal prisons. They're private, owned by private corporations. And even when that's going on, she mentioned that most of their prisoners, at least half the population of the prisoners, are black and brown, where we don't make up that much of the population. But here's a Caucasian woman, blonde hair, blue-eyed, telling me this, but she's never had any issues with the criminal justice system in her life. None. But her family works in that institution, and that's where she was indoctrinated into, I guess, would you say, people of color. And so that's something that even I find Caucasians, you know, fighting against. But the corporations, like the ones that we buy food from, are the ones that sometimes we use their social media platforms. They all have money invested in that as we look at who's going to win the next football or basketball or baseball game, Big C.
Well, Charlton, it's like, you know, what we've been talking about time and time again.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we look at black-on-black crime in America, okay?
Yeah.
But black-on-black crime comes because that's all. You see that people look like you, so you're more likely to commit the crime on a...
It's proximity. Yeah.
It's just like what we saw in Charlottesville. We saw white-on-white crime in America.
Yep.
Because all those people look like each other, so they have no one else to commit a crime against but themselves. But this is something that the news really don't spotlight.
No.
You know, they talk about all the crime that goes on in Chicago with the shootings.
Yeah.
Too many. But they only see people who look like themselves in these shootings.
Yeah.
If they were to move around Charleston into suburbia white Chicago,
yeah,
there would be a serious police presence and the shootings would go down. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
They honestly would, because they would be more protective of the private citizen. And that's a fact. The police are not doing enough to protect the private citizens who don't want to be in harm's way. And they're allowing the criminals to run rampant. Why? Because they look like each other and they feel that they're calling each other out in that situation. It's an unwritten thing, Charlton.
Yeah.
But that's what they feel. They're feeling that they're culling the population by allowing this to occur.
Yeah.
White man, Charlton, there's a serious... Go back to the last L.A. riots with Rodney King and that incident down there.
Yeah.
Okay? What did the police do? They kept everybody in Compton, okay?
Yeah.
They put a barrier up. They did not allow them to leave outside that general area.
Yeah.
You had to stay within and destroy the area that you were in. You were not going to move out into the white tracts of Los Angeles and commit damage.
Yeah.
They did not allow that, so they kept them caged in. And so that caged in also created more hostility.
Yeah.
And that's what you can't allow in America if you're going to have equality. You can't have caged-in mentality.
Well, Big C, I think obviously the more people are intelligent and enlightened, the more they're going to raise their voice about it. And it's not a bad thing when you have intelligent people. It's a good thing. And I'm so proud of the work that the late Dick Gregory has done. And also you talk about Jerry Lewis and what he's did for people who had needs also. So our society is better when we have smart people being conscious and going out there making things happen. Big C, I want to touch on just a big subject that is going on right now, and that's with our commissioner of the National Football League, Roger Goodell. The NFL is making more money than they've ever made, more than they've made under Pete Rozelle, more than they made under Paul Tagliabue. But is it too soon with this talk of a work stoppage? I don't know if it's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't happen. But he's looking at a 5-year extension for the work that he's done, making the NFL an even more wealthy organization, even though I say it's the black athletes that have done it. Big C, your thoughts on Goodell getting his pay raise?
Well, Charlton, you know, he's like any other CEO of any other major corporation in America.
Yeah.
You get all this huge money, and the labor force is the one that's creating the money.
Yep.
Even Charlton. He's negotiating these television contracts. You got to remember that Roger Goodell was the legal counsel for the NFL prior to becoming the commissioner under Paul Tagliabue. So he was the guy negotiating all the contracts. So it was the right move to put him in place.
Yeah.
Because he had his hands on the pulse all of along. But it's the owners who have given him ultimate power.
Yeah.
They're giving him ultimate power because their pockets are getting fatter and fatter. And when your pocket is getting fat, and you don't have to do anything about it, it's easy to turn a blind eye on what else is going on.
Yeah.
And so the owners have done that. Roger Goodell has been as positive as he has been negative for the NFL. And so they're counterbalancing each other.
Yeah.
You know, there's no player in the NFL right now complaining about the money that they make.
Oh, no.
They're not.
No.
They're making copious amounts of cash. And, you know, some of them make so much cash off that they go broke.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They don't know how to spend it right. But the problem is with this, it's not Roger Goodell, Charlton. Because we only hear about the troubled individuals in any league.
Yeah.
Baseball, basketball, football. Baseball has been more lenient on players than anybody else. You think about Steve Carmichael, who used to play. He was a pitcher. He started his career out there with Cuba, out there with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Ended up with the Yankees. This guy had 7 drug suspensions. Okay?
Wow.
7. And still allowed to play Major League Baseball. There's nobody in the NFL with 7 drug suspensions and still playing in the NFL, Charlton.
No.
Okay? Not even in the NBA. There's nobody with 7 drug suspensions playing in the NBA. But Steve Carmichael, because he was a white left-handed pitcher in need in Major League Baseball,
yeah.
they kept giving him first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7 chances, Charlton,
yeah.
to play. But Roger Goodell at some point needs to be a little more less stringent on some actions as far as suspension.
Yeah.
This marijuana issue, they need to really take a second look at this marijuana and make it legal amongst players. If it's not affecting play, Charlton, it hasn't hampered any players play in decades in the NFL, even back in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, using it freely. Using it in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. So players have always used this as a matter of those who got caught in drug tests.
Yeah.
With the THC in their system.
That's a big point to make.
You can play a game on Oxycontin. You know, if I think about Charlton, all the Vicodin and Percocet that I took as a player while I was playing the game, and I can still function because I needed these things to ease the pain.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that a player on marijuana is less functional in the NBA, in the NFL, than a doctor prescribed? Think about it. These doctor prescribed drugs, Charlton, they're called controlled substances.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You just can't walk up to the counter and say, hey, give me a month worth of Percocet.
It's prescribed to people.
I need 5 at a time.
Yeah.
You know, give me some Xanax. You know, you can't do this. These are they're called narcotics.
Yeah.
Narcotics. They're legal narcotics. You can't get the codeine, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because it's a narcotic. The marijuana does all the things that these narcotics do, and you don't have to go and get it from a doctor. And that's the problem, because other people are not making money. The NFL is getting a cut out of the drug users, Charlton, because the average player in the NFL takes enough drugs to supply 150 Americans.
And obviously, and obviously is given to him. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic event, you need insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro athlete, a collegiate athlete, your high school, mom and pop soccer leagues, reach out to them. Let them know that Big C sent you. Big C, as we talk about the issues with Goodell, and obviously, you know, sometimes I think he's done a decent job because the money's there and the TV contracts are there. The NFL is not going away. And people say some of the ratings were down, but I believe that's because of social devices where you don't have a Nielsen box in your hand, but you have your cell phone and you can stream games on your phone. I want to ask you if you can kind of draw a contrast between Pete Rozelle, which a lot of people knew Pete Rozelle because football was so big back in the early days, but now we have this new version of Roger. What kind of contrast would you draw in Pete Rozelle, which helped make the league stronger with the help of Al Davis, and what Goodell is doing right now? I think he's kind of riding the top of the surf, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the insight of Pete Rozelle, along with the late Al Davis, both of these gentlemen have passed, Charlton. But the insight that both of them had to make this league what it is today.
Yeah.
Without those two mavericks, Charlton.
Yeah.
Without those two combatants, the NFL would not exist to the level that it is.
Yeah.
But because they drew such internal fight with each other, Charles. Even television followed that.
Yeah.
They followed the lawsuits. They followed the fights back and forth. The Al Davis, that Maverick, you saw him interviewed every opportunity that they gave him.
Yeah.
You know, the person who's trying to emulate him now is Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones, yeah.
But Jerry can't be Al. Because Al didn't seek all the spotlight like Jerry does. Jerry doesn't want anybody in Dallas bigger than him.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why he doesn't look at signing Colin Kaepernick. He needs a backup quarterback for Dak Prescott. Colin Kaepernick would be a great mentor for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
You know, he's been to the pinnacle. He's been to the Super Bowl where Jerry is trying to get back to. Jerry hasn't had a quarterback since Troy Aikman that had been in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So to have somebody to be there for Dak Prescott, because you hope that he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a backup quarterback in Dallas right now. I mean, Charleston, there's not 10 good backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's not 10. You know, and Colin Kaepernick's sitting around, and I think all these teams have been exposed during the preseason about these lack of quarterbacks. But this is one of the things with the expansion of the roster that Goodell has done in the NFL, expansion of the practice squad, making sure that they get Marius Smith.
Yep.
You know, that has allowed players to develop. This is the key. You know, you look at NFL Europe that they had instituted for a while.
Yeah.
The NFL under Goodell's leadership, they've also did an alliance with the Canadian Football League to allow players to move back and forth in a developmental way, John, to keep players active.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of innovative things. You even think about what they're experimenting with here in the preseason, Charlton, is that they're only going to have one cut. There are players to stay in training camp longer. When you think about it, it's going to be the same amount of players that make rosters and practice squads.
Yeah.
So to allow players to stay in training camp longer, to allow teams to get that second and third look at them, that's something that's been instituted by Goodell and the Players Association, okay?
Yeah.
Demarius Smith.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of positive things for the league. You know, the money that you and he makes.
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting for my cut, Big C. I'm still waiting for my cut.
It's like hitting the mega bucks on the Powerball, Charlton.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna hit that too, Big C. We're gonna hit that on Big C Sports. In fact, when I was watching some TV earlier this evening, and I saw Roger Goodell getting out of an Escalade. And I said, wait a minute, is that Big C in New York City? I said, no, his was clean. He washed his, Big C, so I knew it wasn't you. But I say everybody's driving Escalade. I guess I got to get me one, Big C. Your thoughts?
I guarantee you. But you know, the main thing I want to admire Goodell for, Charlton, in the NFL, okay?
Yeah.
Is his suspension stance, all right?
Yeah.
I do. Because we only notice the players who get suspended, okay, Charles?
Yeah.
We don't notice the other 1,500 who don't.
That's true. That's true.
That's the thing about it. Be honest.
Yeah.
You know, everybody can say that the commissioner has too hard of a hand in the league when he suspends a player. You know, Ezekiel Elliott, 6 games, and any other player who gets a lengthy suspension, Charlton.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell last year, 4 games. You know, Ben Roethlisberger had the 6. We've had multitudes of players, Charlton, get these suspensions. But we get 1,500 players a year that don't even hear from them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Big C.
They really don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the criminal justice system. Yes, we have people who are incarcerated wrong.
Yep.
But we have more people on the outside who don't come in contact with them, Charlton, because they live the way that you're supposed to live.
Yeah.
When you got over 1,500 players in the NFL, follow the guidelines that they give you in your contract.
Yeah.
And your rookie synopsis seminar
Yeah.
that you come in on.
Yeah.
You follow these guidelines, you're going to have a long, productive career without having the NFL police come see you.
And Big C, that's a very good point. And because when we talk about this, we want to make sure, because the commissioner has done a decent job, okay? You can't everybody's not going to like you. But any stockholder that says you've helped my company make more money, I think that's important. However, where I think he's dropped the ball, I think he's really dropped the ball, is you have the majority of your league, which is African American, about 70%. The conscious-minded ones are saying, let's see if we can put it into racism and discrimination at the highest level, and that's when we bring the white men involved who own and run corporations. And I think if he had the consciousness of maybe a Jim Brown or someone, even an Ali, here's a chance for him to say, the same way we say, let's stand up for breast cancer. You don't have to have cancer to have a pink ribbon. The same way they had these commercials, let's end domestic violence. You don't have to be beaten up to understand, to have empathy for domestic violence. And here we are with President Trump and his vitriol and how crooked he's been and talking about roughing people up. He has a chance to stand up for black athletes and their kids by saying, let's call attention to all the NFL owners, irrespective of Kaepernick, to say, what can we do to help wipe out racism in corporate America? Because he employs 70% of black athletes are under his tutelage. If he didn't have the consciousness to even stand up for that, that's where I think he's dropping the ball, Big C. You don't have to be black to understand that racism still exists in the NFL. I think he could score a lot of points if he were to say something about that, at least have a forum about it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Okay, Johnson, but you got to look at it from this perspective with the commissioner. When was the last time anybody remembers the commissioner said at a press conference, okay?
Yeah.
We really don't. You know what's going to eliminate the divide in the NFL and in the communities who watch these NFL games, Johnson?
What's that?
Is when the white players take a knee to their hand. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the test of me all.
Yeah.
If the white players take a knee, don't sit there and put your hand on the back of his shoulder. You're his damn teammate. You like him anyway, okay?
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You don't like him, but you put his hand on his shoulder. We saw that a couple times this past week. That Carr did it. Byron did it in Seattle.
Yeah.
They go put their hand on the guy's shoulder. Don't put your damn hand on his shoulder. Take a knee.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there saying, okay, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, but I'm not backing you, okay?
Yeah.
That's basically what that is. I'm trying to understand what you guys are saying, but I'm not going to back you. If you want a complete backing, throw the owners, throw the commissioner out until the white players in the NFL take a knee during the national anthem. White America won't understand.
Yeah.
Because the problem with the African American community does not affect the white community.
Yeah.
They're separate communities. That's the reason why it said African American community, Caucasian or white community.
Yeah.
They don't live together. There's some integrated sections.
Yeah.
But where these problems occur, Charlton, and these unjustified shootings are in the black communities.
Yeah.
And so white America is not affected by that. You're not going to see some young white male walking down the street blown away by some police officer, okay?
I know.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He may get tased, but he's not going to get shot. That's the difference.
You know,
okay?
ironically,
so
when
until these white players take a knee during the national anthem, white America will always feel uneasy by black Americans pointing this out to them.
And see, that's the point that you brought up. I believe it was back over the 70s, up here at the state capitol in Sacramento. There are a lot of African Americans that came to the state capitol, I think, when Ronald Reagan was governor, and they had shotguns. And I think it was Huey Newton and those good old boys from the Bay Area. And they called in law enforcement because they were afraid. These guys had shotguns, right? It was just like what you had in Charlottesville, but they were black instead of white. And there were so many law enforcement that swarmed the state capitol to make sure nothing happened. No one swarmed in Charlottesville. And I think as far as we talk about criminal justice reform and keeping everybody safe, and sports can create that conversation because a lot of athletes are brave, even if they are kind of cowardly to say something. They're more brave than the average person. So I think that's where Goodell, if he wanted to do something to make society better, Big C, from the top down, I think that's something if he had the consciousness to come and do it. And maybe Lamari Smith could do it, but maybe he's going to be afraid to say something because Goodell is his boss too, in a sense, when you think about it. I think he'd score a lot more points, and that would be better for our future generation. Big C, last thing I want to get is your thought on that, and then I'm going to close out with one more question. Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, the Lamar Smith can make an action. I mean, this is one of those scenarios when the Players Association gets together. They can galvanize if they choose to.
Yeah.
To make a unilateral stance in this. But the problem is, Charlton, is that the white players in America have not felt the injustice. And I don't care which major league sport you play, especially hockey, they have it at all.
Yeah.
But, Major League Baseball, they've had some. The NBA has had its share of the jumps with the NFL because there's so many professional black athletes in the NFL.
Yeah.
The numbers through that alone have more people affected by it.
Yeah.
If America looks at itself, everybody who listens to our program and any sports program, Charlton, knows somebody who's been affected through either civil violence or domestic violence, okay?
Oh, yeah.
They have. Everybody who listens to every sports show in America knows someone directly who has been affected.
Yeah.
And no one has done done anything against it, Charlton. I know what happened, but, I couldn't do anything about
it.
That's the common thread amongst America. I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to have anything happen to me. And that's the same thing when you have these leagues. And even the commissioners and owners. I'm not going to do anything. The reason why the NFL has such a hard line on Colin Kaepernick, because it's sponsored by the U.S. Armed Forces, okay? It's not that they're backing them. You're going to look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that the U.S. Armed Forces pays in advertisement to the NFL. That's what the problem was, Charlton. It wasn't that Colin Kaepernick was taking a stance for what was wrong. It was that they were looking at the potential dollars that the government may have cut off from them, but they forgot who was running the government at the time, Charlton. It was a black man. They stood behind Colin Kaepernick. But they're worried about the guy with the orange skin now that's sitting in the White House. Worried about him. That's what they're worried about. And he said he would cut them off. So that's the problem with what Colin Kaepernick and other African-American athletes have done, Charlton, is that they're worried about the orange-complected guy in the White House cutting off the government funding far as from the U.S. Armed Forces, Charlton, that sponsor the NFL with hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Well, obviously, Big C, that's when you talk about the top, and it starts at the top. So hopefully we'll have more people who stand up in the land of the free and the home of the brave and speak about social justice. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He used to have a slogan called Rumble, Young Men Rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I've been checking out this Little League World Series going on in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I mean, I've seen some fantastic baseball from some of these young players that will be future stars in the major leagues in America, Charlton. There's a lot of major leaguers now that have played in this great event. But this is one of those signature moments in U.S. sports where you bring everybody together. It's not about dollars, Charlton. It's not about who's signing or who's not signing autographs. It's about the purity of the game. And I had such a wonderful time this last weekend watching those young kids in Williamsport, Charlton.
And I appreciate Commissioner Manfred also being there. It makes me think about when I was a kid. Also, when you want to feel like a kid again, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911 so she doesn't have to deal with it on her own. And as we tell you, every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.